When I was 19, I was living in Greece, and I was living with two other girls. They were 8 or 9 years older than me, so they were dinosaurs basically from me. And I remember one night I was sitting on the balcony with one of them, and her name was also Linda. And I was really frustrated over life. You know, life was really difficult and complicated, I thought. And I was probably frustrated over some boyfriend or some other, you know, trivial thing. And I felt uncertain because I thought that at 19 I would have figured things out. So I asked her, when is life going to stop being complicated? When is life going to stop being difficult? And when am I going to feel like a grown-up? When is it going to stop? And she looked at me and she said, you know what, Linda? It only gets worse. And I looked at her and thought, okay, you're kidding. Or you're high or something. I don't know. It couldn't possibly get more complicated than it is right now. But now looking back, 16 years later, there's still uncertainty in many parts of my life. First of all, in my private life, my personal life. Will I ever become a mother? Will I have a family of my own? Will I be able to stay close to my nearest and dearest friends while they're nesting and building their families as they are right now? Will I be able to be close to my parents who are far away geographically speaking when they get older and fragile and they will need my help? In my career, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I have no idea. What's the next step? What am I going to do next? I don't know. Should I like switch paths and do something completely different? And then we have the more trivial aspects of life, like what am I going to wear tomorrow? When am I going to be able to buy my 5th bike? Where am I going to go on vacation next? And will I ever find the perfect purse? I'm sure all you ladies in here know what I'm talking about. And I think that all these questions make me feel uncertain and not like a grown-up, because when I was a kid, I thought that you wouldn't have to ask those kinds of questions. And at least that's what I thought when I was a kid. And here is a picture of me when I was 4 years old, holding my cat. And I can't remember the name of the cat, I just remember that it ran away. And I can remember how it felt holding it and smelling it. So that's me at 4. This is me today, 31 years later, with my cat. And as you can see, not that much has changed, except I know that my cat is waiting for me when I get home. So uncertainty has always been a big part of my life. And I'm sure it's a part of everyone's life. And but I find that people rarely talk about it, especially when it comes to your professional life. People rarely talk about the fact that they feel uncertain. And I want to tell you a story about a conversation I had with a colleague a few years ago. I was working on a project concerning case-based learning in surgery, and I got to work with some of the best and coolest and smartest and brightest teachers and doctors and surgeons at Karolinska University Hospital and Karolinska Institutet here in Stockholm. And one day I was interviewing this woman who is a surgeon. And she's not only a surgeon, she's a surgeon within a surgical field that is very dominated by men, even more so dominated by men. And she's not only that, she's also the mother of 3 or 4 kids. And she's a great teacher, and the students love her. And to me, she seemed so calm and so composed, and like she had everything together, and she was really secure in herself. And I'd been looking up to her for months. And to me, she was the coolest thing since the Walkman. We had, I was interviewing her, and we had a really good conversation going on, and we were talking about the interaction with students, between teacher and students. And we were talking about learning and teaching, and we were talking about what happens in an organization when someone higher up in the hierarchy tells people to do something. Now you have to switch, you have to learn differently, you have to talk differently, you have to do different things. You have to teach in a different way than you've always done. And for some reason, we got to talking about being an expert of something, you know, someone that people come to and expect to know everything. And she then told me that sometimes when she's teaching or doing complicated surgery or leading a strategic meeting or whatever, she thinks to herself, oh my God, what am I doing here? Who am I to be talking to these people? Why are they listening to me? Because when it boils down to it, I don't know. I don't know anything. When are they going to call my bluff? And I think the term she used was, when are they going to figure me out? And maybe all of you in here have got it all figured out already, but I hadn't, because what she said blew me away. Because I really didn't think that she felt that way, and I thought I was the only one who felt that way. But she wasn't kidding. She was just being honest, and she was being humble, and she was showing me that sometimes she feels uncertain, and that just made me like her even more. And that conversation that I had with the female surgeon, it made me realize that uncertainty is a part of who I am, and it's a part of life. It's a part of being a human being and developing as a human being. And that it's not so strange. I don't have to feel weird about it. And uncertainty is a big part of my creative process, and uncertainty has made me questions, and it has opened doors for me, and it has made me make decisions that changed my life, especially my professional life. In my personal life, I'm still struggling there, so I'll have to get back to you on that one. So in my professional role, I manage a project right now concerning entrepreneurship within the healthcare professional educations at Karolinska Institutet. And I get to meet students and teachers and physicians and, you know, a lot of different professional people within the healthcare sector every day. And I get to ask them questions, and I get to facilitate discussions, and I get to, you know, make them think in a different way and come up with new ideas. And one thing that we do within my project is that we talk about the word entrepreneurship and what it means to them. Like, what do you associate with entrepreneurship? What's your feeling when you hear this word, and what do you think of? And one word that is mentioned often is creativity. All of the time. It's mentioned all the time. There's also other words like new thinking, new ideas, innovation, money, starting a company, you know, a lot of different words. But another word that is also mentioned is uncertainty. And for me, it's just natural, because if you never allow yourself to feel uncertain, you will never, you know, make the decisions that change your life, or take a different path, or, you know, it's really important to let yourself feel uncertain sometimes. So what about the grown-up thing then? Maybe you're thinking, what has all this got to do with, you know, not feeling like a grown-up? Why do I keep waiting for that day when I'm going to feel like a grown-up? But now I don't have to anymore, because my mom told me that it's going to happen very soon. Because when I look at it professionally, I get to do all the things that drive me every day. I get to ask questions. I get to facilitate discussions, and I get to, you know, start new ideas and new ways of thinking with my colleagues. So maybe, you know, I consider myself a change agent. So perhaps, since I get to do all these things, it's not so bad to feel like a kid after all, because kids ask questions all the time. That's how they learn. That's how they get a grasp of this confusing world that we're living in. And kids are very honest. They show emotion, and they tell you what they think. And I get to be honest with you here today and share my feelings with you. And for me, that's empowering, and I'm hoping that it might be empowering to some of you. My discussion with the female surgeon was empowering to me. And also, when kids want something, they just go for it, you know. If they want to get something done, they get it done. And if they want something, they usually get it. And I think I have been able to do that in my professional life, and I'm hoping that I can continue to do that. So maybe I'll just have to embrace the fact that I feel like a kid, and perhaps that's a good thing. Thank you for listening.